Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the webinar today, focused on IT and cybersecurity careers and pathways. I'm excited to have a conversation with everybody. Real quick, to get us started, to gauge who's in the room, if you wouldn't mind filling out the poll. It's just real short bullet point about which school you're coming from or how you're tuning in and what you're majoring in. So for those of you who don't know me, I am the Director of STEM Pathways and Innovation at Educate Maine. I've been with Educate Maine 9 years. I was the Director of Project Login for at least 6 of those years. And I would say that my role has expanded to take on digital transformation technology projects, as well as overseeing our Maine mobile biolabs. So if you've ever heard of those programs, that's what I am over. The people that I'm happy to have join with me today are Todd from ProSearch, Evan from Systems Engineering, Tom from Defendify, and Carly from Tyler Technologies. They're going to take a moment to do a little introduction about themselves so you get to know them a little bit better, and then we'll go into some moderated questions. You want to go first, Todd?
Sure. My name's Todd Chamberlain. I am a co-owner and director of IT staffing at ProSearch. I've been here for 19 years, and our firm supports our clients in Maine and beyond with recruiting efforts. And that includes direct hire recruiting, temporary staffing, and IT contract to hire, which is the area I focus in and manage. When I first started at ProSearch, in our IT consulting division, we had only 6 IT contractors, and over time, grew that from 6 to 12 to 20, and now we have over 150 consultants working in 48 states and 3 countries. So, when it comes to partnering with clients for their hiring, my team hires anything from entry level help desk, customer support, all the way up to the C-suite, CIO, CTO level, and everything in between. So a lot of the jobs we're going to be talking about today, we've hired for our clients, both entry level and industry experts. So I'm looking forward to this conversation and answering your questions.
Thanks. Evan?
Absolutely. So my name is Evan Patton. I'm the Employee Success Specialist for Systems Engineering. We are a managed IT services provider based out of Portland, Maine. We provide IT services to businesses that are small or small to large size companies that either have a very small internal IT function or no internal IT function at all. We provide that critical desktop support, network support, really anything IT or cybersecurity oriented that a client needs, we're responsible for. I am our primary talent acquisition mechanism at Systems. So I do a lot of our interviewing. I participate a lot in job fairs and career fairs. And I did a presentation at a middle school recently. So I'm all over the place. I had a really winding road to get here. I originally went to college to be a high school history teacher. Realized I didn't prefer talking to high schoolers. So I pivot until HR. So I'm really excited to talk today about some of the aspects of how do you even begin your professional life. I think that's a really important topic, and one that I wish that I had more resources when I was in your positions.
Thanks, Carly.
Yes, hi, my name is Carly Blake, and I am a software engineering manager here at Tyler Technologies. I've been with the company for roughly 6, going on 7 years. It's crazy how much time has passed. I'm sure we can all appreciate that. Um, I so I look for anybody on my current team, anyone just starting out from college, to senior engineers looking to program that have that programming experience. I have individuals who come from boot camp backgrounds. I have people who come from 4-year degrees. I have people who come from 2. So I hire all kind of rounds of individuals onto my particular team Tyler covers programs and software development for municipalities nationwide. And so, if you can imagine any type of software that a town uses, from registering a vehicle all the way to putting a kid on a school bus, is stuff that we touch. And so, it's a great expanse of software that we really work with on a daily basis. And so, I'm very excited to talk more about what Tyler does and what we're looking for with new engineers coming onto the scene. So, very excited for all of you, get to know all of you and get to share a little bit of information on my side too.
Tom?
Let me unmute. Hi, Tom Lean here. I am the Director of Engineering at Defendify. We provide basically a SaaS, software as a service platform for cybersecurity, for basically anyone who wants it. I've been here for 7 years. I was the first engineer they hired. I wrote the first line of code here. I just pushed the latest line of code here, so I'm still in the mix. But there's 6 of us now. We've grown from basically just me to 6 of us, and it's all a mix. People who have the same degree as you guys have to people who never went to college. And it's been a good run so far. So happy to answer any questions anyone has.
We're definitely going to have time for Q&A at the end, and you guys can use the Q&A function or the chat feature. But I'm going to get right into some questions of our panelists. So many students obviously are hearing that fields like data science, cybersecurity, IT, and computer science are booming. Obviously, strong job prospects and high salaries is what we hear. Sometimes the students hear that, and then they're often left wondering, like, okay, now what? What's next? So from your perspective, what are the practical first steps you would recommend for students who are interested but maybe unsure of how to break into these industries, and your experience here in Maine? And we'll just popcorn around. So go ahead and feel free to take it, whoever.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to jump in on this one because it touches really strongly on a lot of the function of my job. You're absolutely right. Data science, cybersecurity, IT, computer science, these are not fields that are getting any smaller or any less complicated. They're requiring more and more knowledge, more connectivity. And what's really encouraging to me is that programs like USM and SMCC are really connected to the changes that are happening in the industry. The educators, the administrators, everyone on those campuses is really plugged into the changes that are happening with industries like ours. And so the things that, when I get a chance to talk to students, the things that I hear that they're learning are really aligned with the things that they're going to need to know when they come into roles at companies like ours. I think what can be discouraging for students is knowing how to begin. And I know for me, when I was in college, like really trying to sort out how to begin professionally was one of my biggest challenges. My recommendation for students is always participate as much as you can and as many business facing opportunities as possible. I'll be at the USM Career Fair tomorrow. And then I'm immediately leaving from there and going to UMA to talk about their new cybersecurity center. And then next week, I'll be at SMCC for their career fair. Attending career fairs is how you get opportunities to talk to employers. Um, the, Systems engineering isn't paying me to just go there. They're paying me to go there and engage with you. So when you're there, I'm there to talk to you and you're there to talk to me. We're building this mutual relationship before we even have conversations about what kinds of roles are available or what does the industry look like. But that's how we start that conversation, is by getting to know each other. Breaking into those industries through things like internship programs and apprenticeships and any way that you can interact with the thing that you're interested in professionally, take those opportunities. Those are invaluable. Even if it's not direct experience, if you can speak to what you're interested in from a place of authority, that makes you a much more appealing candidate.
I would echo everything Evan just said. To kind of put a little different flavor on it when it's time to kind of present yourself to a client, I would say getting on your resume, even though you may not have hands-on experience in an actual job, employers want to see what you've been doing at school in your programs, what kind of projects you've been working on. If you have a GitHub profile that can showcase a portfolio of work that you've done, you're going to want to get that on your resume and share that, because it shows the potential employer, the work that you've done in the field, what interests you. And then it also gives you an opportunity too to kind of outline some other things that you're curious about or interests you may have. So I would say, along the lines of what Evan was saying about getting out to the career fairs, I would also get a profile up on LinkedIn, join LinkedIn networking groups that are industry specific, reach out to people, make contact with folks, see what they have for opportunities within their teams or organizations. If you have, if you've experienced, if you've taken part in a hackathon or anything like that, those are things that employers want to see and read about when they get your resume for the first time. So those are all things I would highlight as you're putting yourself out there to potential employers as you're applying for that maybe first professional job in the industry.
That's good advice. I do want to talk a little bit about those entry level careers. We use that term a bit, and so that term can sometimes feel a bit vague. Can you share some like common entry level roles in your areas or companies, or as well as any lesser known ones that students might not even be aware of? So really, like what types of positions can students obtain with an associate's degree, with a bachelor's degree, or even beyond, or with a certificate or some sort? Yeah, just how can someone figure out what type of entry level role is the right fit for their interests and skills?
What's really interesting about this is that entry level is, I think where you guys are right now is kind of your entry level on everything. But you'll find that as your career grows, you will end up actually being entry level in certain technologies that people are really good at because you just got started with it. So right now you're kind of all entry level. So that's good. But you should start trying to think about picking a lane because at some point you're going to have expertise in something. Like Evan was saying, the idea of I can do everything is kind of going away. You just can't fit everything we do in our lives and in our heads anymore. So I would pick a specialty and start. And really, what you like is the best specialty because then it doesn't really feel like work anymore. Try to figure out what you like and start driving in that arena. But entry level, for what we do is I don't. I mean, I look for good people who look like they're going to be good programmers or at least solid in systems thinking because even if they're really good at a bunch of stuff, they're going to come into Defendify and find a whole world they have no idea about, which is all the stuff we built, and that ain't going to be like anything else. So. Uh, Entry level is just you have to be able to get into a system and figure it out pretty quickly because you can't stay entry level very long. So my advice on that would be just like entry level means you can solve problems, and maybe right now you're in this academic area where the problems you were asked to solve are basically academic, kind of trivial, kind of small, kind of focused, kind of like something AI can do. It's going to be your job very quickly to get better than that and not be entry level. You have to be able to not only code things, which I think you can all do coming out of where you are, but you got to be a real problem solver in ways that you probably may not be yet. And the way you get out of entry level is you take up, someone gives you a solution and you figure out the better solution because you went out and figured out what the problem actually was.
Definitely. And to kind of piggyback off of that, I think Tom explained entry level really well. And from a company standpoint, what we typically have for entry level positions for individuals coming out of college, out of boot camps, out of any type of given situation with any type of education, we typically have internships, especially right off the bat with still being in school, still kind of taking classes maybe for the summer times. We also have internships that expand through the school year. And this doesn't just mean that you have to be a junior or a senior to be an intern at Tyler or maybe even other companies as well. I'm sure, Todd, you've seen a couple of other internships, multiple cases with even freshmen or sophomores in college getting internships. And I know that at Tyler, we've had a couple of individuals come in earlier on in their education as interns, and we keep them throughout their entire school academic career. By the time that they actually graduate, not only are they finally getting that degree, that bachelor's degree or that associate's degree, which is a great accomplishment at that point. But also, they have a job ready and waiting for them by the time that they're right out of school. And so there's multiple opportunities. Right now, we typically look for interns in the fall. We're looking right now for our summer internship of 2026. And so we definitely start early. Interns typically start early for recruiting, that is. And it's a great opportunity to get your foot in the door. It's a great opportunity for networking. It's actually how I got my first start here at Tyler. I came in as an intern and they liked me so much that they offered me a job before my senior year. And so, entire senior year, didn't have to worry about finding a career. I already had one run my lap. And so, it's a wonderful feeling with that, not having to stress about it being a senior in college. But there are wonderful opportunities for internships out there that are continuously posted. I know Project Login definitely posts those different opportunities out there. And so Angela is a great resource to keep in touch with those kind of great opportunities, like I said. But also for just regular entry level, maybe you weren't able to get into an internship, there are entry level positions everywhere. And these consist of, for my perspective with Tyler, typically a 1 year circumstance of, I don't think probation is the right word, but you come in as a software developer with Tyler. And then typically within a year, you become a software engineer. And just like Tom was kind of adhering to with what he described as an entry level, that first year is where you grow. And it's an exponential growth that we're expecting out of you. And you hit the ground running and you keep going, you learn the processes, and then by the time a year is out, you're ready to truly contribute. And that's when you get out of that entry level and keep moving forward with the company.
Um,
Uh, if you don't mind, I'd like to just jump in and also add like internships, entry level roles, career experiences, job shadowing. These are all really great places to start to build your skill platform. Like you, if you have a really strong foundation to build that future specialization onto, everything becomes a lot smoother. And it's even more important that you start to develop your style. How do you troubleshoot? How do you answer questions? How do you connect with clients and with colleagues to make sure that you're communicating what you're doing to them in a way that they understand? Um, you really can only do that if you're doing the thing. So go find these opportunities to do the thing, even if it's a day experience, even if it's a job shadow experience. Start to see how other people do it too, so that you can develop your style for yourself.
Yeah, thanks for chiming in on that. I definitely feel like the opportunity to add somebody to your network anytime you meet somebody that is either in the industry you're looking to get into or has a connection to the industry, those are people that can help you later on with your job search. So, or your internship, prospects and things like that. I definitely feel like the potential to do a community service project or a volunteer aspect is also really good because it allows you to talk about that project, how you worked on a team. Um, the discussion around internships is super helpful, and I know there's going to be questions coming in about it, which we will get to. We sometimes hear that internships are often limited or highly competitive, so students are getting creative in finding alternative ways to build those skills, whether it's through certifications, online courses, those personal projects, or community involvement that I mentioned. In your experience, how are students successfully developing these relative skills, like outside that traditional first internship experience? And how can employers weigh formal education with industry credentials and also some self-taught and life experience when evaluating, an applicant?
Well, I mean, Todd said this before, but my primary resource for you if I'm interviewing you is going to be, even for internships, is what does your GitHub page look like? When you think of social media as stuff, programmers use GitHub. That's your core place where I'm going to look at your stuff. I can see what you've been doing. The core problem you have to solve when you're trying to get an internship or get a job is convincing the person you're talking to that you can do the job. Internships are great because it gives us a chance to sample if you can really do the job, and then you can get hired because we know you can do the job. But your GitHub information, like whatever you're doing on GitHub, is going to be a huge driver for that. And you don't necessarily have to have an internship. You're working on software. Like we're lucky. We're in this field where we can kind of like build great things and deploy them into the world right away. And you don't need a lot of infrastructure around you to do that. You have all the tools at your disposal. So, best thing you can do, in my opinion, has always been to do the work, do it, go forward, show you can do it. Because if I'm talking to you in an interview, I'm diving into that with you to see what you can do. So come up with a project you want to do and something you're interested in. Make a mountain you have to climb and climb that mountain so I can see you can do it.
Yeah, I also,
Definitely. And I think, sorry, go ahead, Ted.
oh, I was just going to make a quick point, kind of piggybacking off of Tom, when you're talking to a potential employer, they're going to be asking you a bunch of questions. And I always kind of coach people that we're working with that this is your opportunity to interview them too. Be curious about their team, ask questions about how they do things. That way there you can understand their train of thought. And as the interviewer asks you questions moving forward, you kind of have a feel on kind of what they're looking for. So it's a lot of it is to get their attention, get it on paper on your resume, so they can express their interest and set up an interview with you. But then the flip side of that coin is being able to really talk about it in such a way that it resonates with the person you're speaking with.
I do just want to say the opportunities to sort of build skills exist outside of your major or your career path or your school. And so I know each one of these folks have continued their education by following research and like listening to podcasts and doing different things on trends. I dropped in the chat the cybrary.it because there was a question specifically around preparing for a cybersecurity internship. If you want to go down that route, there's some things you can do to make yourself look real good and to polish up your resume. Um, and so, I mean, I think the biggest part is you're trying to set yourself apart from some of the other candidates. So you want to be able to talk about what you specifically as an individual can contribute, how you work. Let them see you in the job. That's the biggest thing. You know, somebody said it like you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you, and you need to make sure it's a good fit for you. I do want to have a
Completely.
follow-up question to that, which is like, what are you seeing as like professional certifications that are the most valuable or marketable when you're looking for folks? If you see a candidate come through and somebody doesn't have a certificate or a credential and somebody does, what are those ones that you're like, oh, okay, and you look at those and you weigh those?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think it speaks to we can't look at all of the parts of you applying for roles and trying to break into the industry and learning and development and skill building. Those things are not separate from each other. The whole all of this comes together in this soup of who you are as a candidate for a position. Um, Degrees are great. I say that probably because your teachers are listening. Degrees are awesome. College is an awesome place to develop your foundational skills, and it speaks a lot to your professionalism and your passion and your interest in the field when we also see that secondary piece of certifications. I don't even care if you got the certification. I care that you tried to get it. I care that you went out into the world, followed up on what your learning was, what your passion is, what your interests are, and you tried to continue to grow in those areas. Your security pluses, your CompTIAs, like all of that, all of the Coursera, all of the tertiary learning that's available to you outside of direct experience with internships and your degree program, build who you are as a professional. And show me that you are dedicated to this task of developing as a person who is going to contribute to my team. And I see that in those certifications. So it really pursue the certification that interests you in the area of passion for you, and not just to get the certifications. Because when I ask you about why you got that certification, I don't telling me that it's because it looks good on a resume is not a real motivator for you. I want to know why you got it. What led you to that Cisco certification? What is it about networking that spoke to you that you were like, I'm going to learn more about this on my own? Um, so external certifications are always a great thing to see.
Yeah, I tend to look at it like when I talk to people, the people that really end up being very good treat what they do not as a job, but as a vocation, like a career. Like
Mhm.
they're always doing it. And when they're done doing it, they're not looking to do something else. They're looking to keep doing this thing. And they'll spend their time doing this 'cause they're actually into it. And that's what they want to do for the rest of their lives, probably. So they put the effort in. We don't, I don't, the funny thing is because we hire so much in Maine, I'm always looking for high value candidates. So sometimes a cert, I try not to use certs as a limiter because sometimes you'll find people who are really, I think, could be really good. They just don't know what a cert was, didn't know they had to go get it. So, like one of the guys that works for us now started off as an intern without a college degree, just out of high school. but we wound up putting him through college because we wanted him to get that degree because we knew he had a lot of talent. He could really do it. So don't think that having one is going to be a career killer. But it doesn't hurt to have a receipt either if you wind up doing the work to get one. That's all. But I wouldn't consider it like a hard stop or anything.
Totally.
I would say too, there was a question that sort of came in that was like, what do you know about the outlook or view of candidates with a hybrid background, meaning they're a career changer, they have a degree in another field, not IT, they have life experience, maybe other things. But I think we need to talk about transferable skills, and we need to talk about these really great
Um,
on-the-job problem skills, solving skills that somebody in a field of fire and emergency medicine can carry over, because I think that that's really important to talk about. Like there's some ability to work under pressure, fast pace, the adaptability and resilience, sort of attention to detail, teamwork and collaboration. Do you guys have anything you want to contribute when you talk about a career changer, making a move from one field to another completely, into IT?
Yeah, I would say we work with a lot of those folks, and what's most important is we work with candidates and we let them know. I mean, we've working with our clients for a number of years, right? So we know what they want, we know what they like to see on a resume and how they want to see it. So one of the things we'll do when working with a candidate is talk about those transferable skills. We'll deep dive on the job that they want to apply to. We'll kind of pull out some of the main skills or soft skills that the client is looking for. And then we'll look at their current work history and kind of draw parallels between the two and make sure that we highlight that and sometimes use some of the same wording, if you will, or keywords that our clients typically look for to make sure that the client sees, even though that, this person, has been an EMT for the last 5 years, that they do have the ability to work in high pressure environments, make mission critical decisions, and deliver for their patient um, whenever needed. Those are some of the things that you definitely want to highlight on a resume when you're, applying for a new potential role.
Yeah. To even tack on to that, as a hiring manager myself, and when I look for engineers trying to join my team, one of my favorite things to see on a resume is, yes, the GitHub link is wonderful. However, I also like seeing a section on projects. And so grabbing a folder, grabbing all the projects you've ever worked on and things and passion projects that are even outside of your schoolwork, or maybe it is your schoolwork that you've incorporated it in. However, being able to identify those and speak to them is huge. It's one of my favorite things to actually go through and set aside at least 10 minutes. And I identify those projects and I simply ask the question, tell me about this. And if you can share your screen and show me the project that you've worked on and everything that you've gone into and the passion that you've thrown behind a project, it goes miles beyond somebody telling me what they've done for a resume and work experience sometimes because of the amount of passion that they have behind these projects. And so definitely keep that in mind. If you're switching careers and everything, then show the passion as to why. Why did you switch? Why are you getting pulled to IT and why are you getting pulled to software engineering? And showcase that in your resume as best as you can with that project section.
Thanks. I'm gonna kind of switch my thinking into another follow-up question. You definitely mentioned like things you can do outside to become more knowledgeable, and we've dropped a few things in chat, like becoming a part of a local professional association or a meetup group, or Evan mentioned attending like a hackathon or some sort of challenge. Attend some, you're already doing something today by attending a webinar to gain information and to make connections in the industry. All of these people are somebody you can connect with on LinkedIn and add to your network. They would love to help you on your journey. Um, is there advice or recommendations you can give to students to stay knowledgeable and competitive? What have you seen and what have you really liked from students in Maine? What do they bring when?
there are so many opportunities for you to talk with people about the thing that you care about. Doesn't matter what it is, find the opportunity to do that because it helps you refine how you talk about what you're interested in. It, and it also challenges you to stay up to date with the changes in the thing that you're interested in. Don't try to force interest in something you don't care about just because it seems professionally relevant. That's interviewers can tell when you aren't invested in the thing that you're talking about. Find the thing that you care about, participate in as many opportunities as you can around that thing because it will give you language to talk about it. It will refine your understanding of it and it will keep you on the edge of how it is changing. So if it's networking, find a group of people who love doing networking stuff. That's the resources are available to you. The internet exists. You will find your people. You already know how to do it. It's just take the time, carve the time out to really jump in on those opportunities, and be all in on them. Participate as fully as you can.
Yeah, to Evan's point, there's so many opportunities to get out there and network with people in certain industries or technology sectors. In Maine, we've got, the Maine Technology User Group, the PMI User Group, the Agile User Group, .NET User Group. I mean, if you have an interest in something, trust me, there's a user group for it. Join the
Hmm.
user group, find out when they're meeting. Sometimes it's virtual events. Sometimes it's in person. I prefer the in person because you get to really meet with people firsthand, connect with them, learn learn what interests them in person. And then it also gives you the opportunity to talk to them about what opportunities are available within their team or within their organization, what internships look like and feel like for them, some of the skills and traits that they look for in a new entry level hire. All you're doing by doing that is just arming yourself with more information about what other people are looking for. That way, there you can be more prepared when you apply for roles in the future.
All right. So, given how quickly fields like data science, cybersecurity, and IT evolve, how can students stay current with emerging skills and technologies? And how might cultivating entrepreneurial thinking, like initiative and adaptability, creative problem solving, like help them stand out? Like, and Tom, you can take this since you're from the startup community if you want.
Well, that can be good and bad, right? You have 35 failed startups in 2 years. I don't know if I want you bringing anything into mine, but I mean, it is a self-starting thing about it, and it kind of goes a little bit to that previous question about um, Maine. One thing most Maine develop, the reason I love hiring guys from people from Maine, developers from Maine, is they are thrifty. And not thrifty from like a money standpoint, but they're thrifty with resources. They do that kind of thing programmers don't do anymore. They're really careful about it. How much is the server going to cost us to actually run? Can I make it cheaper? Which actually works a hell of a good if you're trying to maintain a runway in a startup. And they have this dogmatic bite downedness, which is I think my favorite feature of any software developer. If they get a problem that's bugging them, they will bite on it like a dog with a bone and never let go till they solve it or find that it's unsolvable. And I have found that mostly guys from up here, because we had this mandate for a long time when we started, we only hired local till COVID kind of forced us to kind of remote more. But all the guys from Maine, or the best ones we still have, absolutely bite into a problem and won't let go. And I don't know if that's a cultural thing or what, but they all have it in common, and it's the best thing they can do. Um, yeah. Um, and it's kind of like a side question in this is like, how do I get started in some of the stuff? I was noticing in the chat about like QA and stuff. Like, don't get hung up in the idea that you need some formal knighthood that I can do QA now. Like, no one, especially in a lot of the programming stuff and startups, especially, startups have to be scrappy. We tend to get people that are not just like one thing. You got to be able to do a bunch of stuff because we don't have a QA guy. So we have six QA guys, and everyone does some QA as part of their work. So you got to be versatile, and it's really hard to do, I think, when you're entry level because you don't even know what levels of versatility have to be yet. But you can be pretty versatile, and that's going to be the best thing you can do if you want to get in a startup. And the nice thing about startups versus like conventional companies are you can grow like a rocket in one of these startups because you'll have to do so much stuff on day one. And you'll have so much power that you maybe wouldn't get in a more traditional company. There'll be a lot of process, not layers and stuff. And startups with a lot of processes and layers die because they can't move. They're like a shark in the water. They got to constantly be swimming. So you get a lot of empowerment in a place like this. But you can also do a lot of damage, so be careful. Yeah.
Tom is the voice of reason. Sorry. I do want to get ready to open it up to some more questions and to answer some of the ones that are being populated in the QA and chat feature on this webinar. But I'm wondering if you might want to suggest, we talked a little bit about this around, websites or professional organizations. Um, are there other resources, podcasts, things that you want to recommend to students to follow along, learn more about what's going on in the industry? I mean, I can shamelessly plug the Project Login podcast. If you haven't heard of it, it's wherever you get podcasts. It's where I interview people working in Maine in the technology jobs you're interested in about. So it's a career exploration podcast, and sometimes we have students ask the employers the questions. Sometimes we've had a specialized, like data science one or like a very specialized thing. But you can go back and look at all of our previous. I feel like almost everybody on this call, the panelists, have been a guest on the podcast at one point or another, or their companies were represented. So do you guys have some other, people you want to recommend or associations they can sign up, be a member of?
I will always, always advocate for go to the people who are doing the thing that you want to do. Find a mentor, find a resource, go email them. You don't people wait for permission all the time to reach out to get these opportunities, and that's not granted to you. That is something that you can just do. You can just go, you can email me. You can email an employer. You can email somebody who's in a job that you're interested in. You find them at these career fairs. You find them in these organizations and sessions, and you get their contact information and you say, what do you do? What does your job look like? Tell me about yourself and how you got to where you are and what skills you needed to get there. People will talk to you about what they do because they care about it. They care about what they do and they want to talk to people who are interested in what they do. They want to share about themselves. Learn from people's journeys, learn from their stories. There's so many things that are applicable to your situation that someone has already been through. You don't make it harder for yourself. Don't take on more of this work, this emotional labor of trying to struggle to figure out these steps. Talk to somebody who did it already and help them help you develop a path for yourself. I love when I get an email from a student that's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Great. Let me connect you with somebody who does. And
I
then
feel like most of our internships were people who cold called us and we didn't really have an internship and they were like, you look kind of cool. Maybe we'll give you one, you know?
I will tack on to that. I know I've said LinkedIn a couple of times, but truly it is a wonderful resource to get an account set up and just like Evan just said, like follow the individuals that you deem are role models in the career path that you're looking at. And so if you're looking at video game software design, find somebody on LinkedIn who does that and somebody in maybe even a area or a company that you dream of working for one day. Follow those individuals, see what they're doing, see what they're talking about. Go down a rabbit hole with articles that are posted for that particular individual and what they're working on a daily basis. I know I've found myself down a couple of LinkedIn articles myself, just kind of digging into new scopes and new software that's being used. It's where a lot of professional growth happens, and people want to share that because they're passionate about it and they're excited to share it with a group of other individuals who are also passionate about it. And so ultimately, you'll see a lot of conversations happening there. And that's where you'll find podcasters. That's where you'll find different resources to reach out to as well by actually finding the people who are role models for the career path that you want to go down.
Totally. And kind of piggybacking off of Callie's point with LinkedIn, when you join a LinkedIn user group, if you will, or a networking group, that's a sounding board that all of the members are using each other as a sounding board. If someone runs into a coding issue or has a question about a specific technology that they're going to implement or thinking about implementing, but want to know if other people hit certain roadblocks or if there are any red flags that they should consider, um, you're kind of like in the know just by observing these conversations that are taking place, and you can do more research and expand your knowledge in that specific, technology or realm that you're in. Um, when it comes to podcasts, there's this guy, I forget his name, but he's a TikToker. I think his official site is admedium.com. A lot of the advice he gives is on interviewing techniques, specifically for college interviews. But a lot of the advice he gives is so transferable to professional interviews. And he's someone that I watch all the time because he gives a lot of great, good advice that I use to share with people when I'm working with folks.
And then we did drop a few more LinkedIn groups and people that you can connect with on that platform. We were talking a little bit about boosting up your sort of volunteer or community service repertoire, your talents and skills related to tech in those arenas. And so I'm curious about your thoughts around mentoring a robotics team or, supporting a Girls Who Code club or some other area. Is there any advice you have for the students to get connected to those?
Well, one of the things I've done is work with nonprofits, because especially like where you guys are, like, you may not have a company may not hire you yet for what you want to do, but nonprofits are usually desperate for technical talent in any aspect of anything they do. And they're so grateful that you're there to do it. So you can kind of build a resume by volunteering with nonprofits to handle stuff. And I'm not talking about like, digging ditches for the Friends of Fort Williams or something, but literally helping out with their technology problems. And they'll be happy just to have you, and they won't really give you a lot of grief if your resume doesn't say you can do it very well because nobody else is doing it for them. And that's a great way to boost up the fact that, yeah, I can do this. I can do this in a semi-professional setting, and here's proof I've done it. Call them. That's a great little sneaky way to get some extra boosts on your resume.
I was going to say the same thing. Nonprofits, they're starving. A lot of them, if you reach out and let them know you've got the experience or you're looking for kind of on the job experience and you share what you're capable of doing, and if they have an opportunity for you, they're usually like open arms welcoming you, and it's a great resume builder, and it gives you that real world experience that some employers are looking for when they're talking to an entry level person.
And don't forget that like most open source projects are basically considerable nonprofits. Like even if it's a very specific technical thing you want to do, and maybe like the nonprofit down the street doesn't have that, there's an open source project that can use you. And we're in this weird meritocracy still. Like stuff we do generally still has a meritocracy, and not every business I say has that. If you can prove you can do it and do it well, it gets rid of a lot of the other things that you can worry about, like my grades weren't very good, or my major wasn't what I thought it needed to be, or whatever. If you prove you can do the task and the task is specific to something someone needs you for, you can jump all that stuff right over. You just got to prove you can do it, and being able to actually do it in real life is all the proof people need.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so real quick lightning round before we switch to the Q&A and the students asking more questions. What is one piece of advice you would like to give to them or wish you had been given in early in your career?
I wish that somebody had emphasized the importance of participation. Um, like we've been talking about the whole time, it really comes down to that. Find where the thing that you care about is happening and do it. Talk to people, engage with them, go and acquire not just the skills, but the language to talk about the thing. Um, because you can have all the skills in the world, but if you can't tell people that you know how to do it, it doesn't mean anything. You can't go anywhere with that until you are able to convey to somebody who maybe doesn't know as much as you do about that particular topic, that you know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about, and that you have that expertise to back it up. Speaking to what you know from a place of authority and having the language to do that is best acquired through participation.
I'd say my advice I would give is to be and always stay curious. Um, there's especially with AI now, there's a lot of folks in the IT industry that are worried about AI, thinking it's going to take over their jobs or their careers or what have you. Um, I'd say stay curious, be curious about it. How can you use AI to automate certain tasks that frees you up to do more work, so you can execute on things that are like mission critical versus some other mundane task. Um, if there's an area of interest that would help enhance your team or your job that you're currently doing, be curious, do that research, figure it out, go talk to your manager, see how you can implement it, make everyone's lives easier, maybe save a few bucks too. Um, so I would say just stay and be curious.
I would say read a lot. People don't. A lot of juniors come in now. They like just don't read books. They want to watch a video. They want to see a tutorial. Read. There's so much information about what you're doing in books somewhere that are edited by people, professionals, and have technical reviews and stuff. And that stuff is worth its weight in gold. A $25 book literally could be $100,000 worth of salary for you in 10 years if you internalize it and do it. Uh, Read a lot. And when you're in a meeting and you're doing tech with somebody and they say something you don't know, it's okay not to know it. But next time you talk to them, at least know what it is. Like read, educate yourself constantly. It never ends. I got 10 books stacked right here. I still have to read. I've been doing this for 40 years. Never ends. It's the perennial curse of this business we're in. Things keep shifting. You have to stay on top of it. That's the burden of having a pretty good life and a good job, is you must always be staying on top of it, and nothing beats reading. Nothing.
Well, geez, how do you piggyback off of all three of those? Those are those are wonderful. No, definitely. My go-to, I wish someone would have really harped into me was not ignoring the soft skills. I mean, you can ultimately know everything having to do with computer science, but a lot like what Evan said, if you can't speak to somebody about it, if you can't relate to other individuals, if you can't network or even persuade individuals into kind of accepting that you know what you're talking about. You need to be able to actually articulate the ideas that you have in your head so that you can convince somebody else that this is a really good idea and we should go for it, and or you should buy it from me. And so you need those soft skills in order to actually advance yourself further. You really need to focus on those and put yourself out of your box. So if you're not a soft skills person, if you're not somebody who enjoys talking to other individuals on a daily basis, I've been there, trust me. But if you notice that's a weakness about yourself, then put yourself out of your box, make yourself uncomfortable so you'll grow. Grow those soft skills and make sure that you can articulate your ideas because they're going to be great and you should be able to share those with the world moving forward.
So I'll just end there before I transition to the questions. That I would say I wish that, somebody had told me that, you know, picking one path is going to be a straight line because it's not in this industry. It is a lattice. There's no ladder straight to the corporate top. Like that, you're going to go in multiple different angles, but follow your passion, follow your purpose, use your voice, connect with companies like these that have a really awesome culture that makes you feel like your work is valid and important because it is. All right. So one of the questions in the Q&A, and we've decided we're going to answer this one live, is when we were talking about the internships before, somebody had a question about, are they typically paid? They're a little bit nervous about like the state of the economy, financial stuff, being a father and a full-time student, maintaining a job. So the networking and the meeting individuals part of that question, and are they paid? And I had dropped in the chat back then, like, yes, go for the ones that are paid. Go for, something that absolutely not just for academic credit. But what do you guys say to that question?
Our internship program is paid for that exact reason. It's if a company can do it, then they do it, and that's if that's a need for you, then find those opportunities because they are out there.
Yes. Yep. Tyler Technologies, our internships are paid. And not only that, it's because you are a live engineer in our code. You aren't
You're doing the
shuffled off into a corner to work on a side project of don't touch anything, don't break anything. It's not that way. You are a live engineer in our code, and what you do impacts our clients. And so, therefore, you are going to get paid for your efforts 100%.
Yeah, we pay unless it's an academic credit situation. In that case, usually we don't. If it's like a J term or something like that, and they don't want you to pay, then we won't. The schools won't want us to do that. But usually, if it's just a pure internship, it's a paid thing. Yeah, not lucrative, mind you, but paid.
Yeah, most of our clients, they pay their interns as well because the internship world is extremely competitive for the candidates, right? For the person kind of seeking an intern. But there's so many opportunities out there, and from like the employer's perspective, for them to be remain competitive with everyone else hiring interns out there, they do have to pay. Again, like Tom said, it's either, you know, they're paying you monetarily or you're doing it for credits.
So the other question is about another career changer, sort of somebody already has a degree in fire science, or they're pursuing computer science, but also going through a Google data analytics on Coursera. So where could someone find like part-time work to continue to grow the skills, even if they're still working full-time to retirement out of that first career? They're planning on, this is their second sort of career post-retirement. What do you give for advice on that? Part-time, growing skills.
Time management is going to be huge. I'll admit I have full-time position, software engineering manager, and I also got my MBA at the same time that I was still managing this past year, and so I finished out my MBA. And not only that, I am curious about project management, and so I went and got my PMP. It's doable. It's 100% doable, and switching your careers is definitely achievable. Time management is going to be your best friend.
I will say that because we get people that reach out to us a lot for part-time opportunities. When I say people, I mean candidates. Part-time opportunities are few and far between. Most employers are looking for folks that can commit to, at least 40 hours a week because they have, work that needs to get done. That being said, every now and again, we do get a part-time opportunity. And a lot of times folks that, we're placing into those roles are like the person asking the question. They're making a career shift, or there's someone who has been retired and they're like, you know what? This retirement thing isn't 100% for me just yet. I want to do something part-time to keep myself sharp. And that's, who we kind of place in those roles, but they are very limited.
I will say that a few years back we got real creative, and Andy and I at USM created a micro internship experience during a winter break. So if you're already off from school, even if you are working your other job, you could potentially do a short-term project-based placement for a company. Almost always there's an employer that has a project on their back shelf that they can't get to, that they've been wanting to get to. And then you might be the perfect fit to come in with a solution for them. And so uh, check with your career services offices for sure. See about what's possible with partnerships through Project Login and others. Maine Career Catalyst obviously augments and supplements any other internship program. But yeah, the part-time work, sometimes you got to get creative and think outside that box again. And like the answer is always no if you don't ask. So if you approach somebody and say, do you have a project that I could do on a part-time basis? I mean, you might find something. So double checking the Q&A again. If anybody wants to raise their hand or drop something in the chat, we'll take a few more. We got about 4 minutes
There was
left.
a question about like non-tech degrees, I think, in there about like going into tech somewhere. And that's actually very normal. So don't think because you don't have a STEM degree that you can't
Mhm.
transition to STEM. A lot of the stuff people do actually transitions pretty well. You'll find a lot of the academic of computer science, who actually wind up not using much in industry, but use a lot of the kind of thinking skills that you develop in other disciplines as well, and they cross over very nicely. I'm talking like philosophy majors make great programmers, music majors make great programmers for some reason. It just kind of works out. Yeah.
We have
Cool.
folks in the organization who were contractors 3 years ago. Completely agree.
Yeah,
transferable
one of our
skills
best
come from
guys
that.
was like an amazing bartender who wanted to become a good dev. And I don't know what it's about holding all those drinks and mixes in your head and balancing all at once, but it's transitioned very well into development.
Cool.
Fine multitasker.
Looks like we have another one in QA. What does a cybersecurity internship look like, for example? Like, what are the type of activities or tasks one might be doing?
Great question. We have you live in our environments, working with our clients directly. Oftentimes, it's as part of a ride along with a more experienced security operations professional, but you're seeing what's happening in real time in client environments. We do that with all of our entire internship program is rotational through all of our departments, and you do that with every single department: engineering, security operations, help desk. You're in it with them from the jump. So it's the best way to we've found to help people develop skills, especially in STEM. It has a lot of hands-on learners and people who understand it conceptually, but until they see it happen in real time, they're not sure how it connects to what they've learned. So putting people in those live environments, we find is crucial.
Yeah, I've got a question in here about what skills or certifications are most valuable for somebody just starting out in IT? And is it the same for like a computer science sort of software side?
A lot of overlap. So, I mean, skills wise, it's really interesting because it might still be very narrow depending on what you're getting into. You know, if you're like going into IT and you're becoming like a Unix system administrator, your skill set is still, there's a broad skill set of like knowing systems and being able to think through problems and stuff. But some of this is a very narrowly applicable skill set that may not transfer well to other things. If you're going into program or something, your skill set's going to be, you know, at early stage has to be just engineering discipline, and with the idea that you'll pick up the other skills as you roll forward.
Some of the general certs that some of our clients look for from time to time are, the CompTIA, the A plus certification, the Network Plus certification. Um, Others have required CCNA, certified ethical hacker certs. Those are some things that historically clients have asked for in the past.
There's a question about how we talked about passion projects and students being able to do something on their own, but then being able to talk about it. So they said, what types of projects have students talked about with you in the past that they did on their own that stood out to you?
I can definitely speak to that one. Um, Example off the top of my head that still is in my head to this day, obviously. A student came out of college just finishing up, and one of the passion projects on the side that he presented was a video game that he had designed. And he had conceptualized how he'd want this video game to work, and he even showed a prototype of it from the very start menu to it was almost like you guys remember just Flappy Bird. I'm not sure if I'm dating myself with that, but it was very much a generalized screen, but he showcased all of the triggers that he had put in and the events that he did put in. And it was just very obvious the passion that he had. And it wasn't a school assignment, it wasn't anywhere close, but it was something that he was really proud of. And so that showed through in his project very quickly. And so it wasn't this grand scheme of anything, but it was definitely something that he had put a lot of time and effort into. Another one that I had was an actual school project, but something that they had taken they had taken the role as the almost project manager in that particular project. And so not only did they showcase the GitHub, the entire kind of code behind it, but they also had the meetings in notes. And so on that particular case, the passion project wasn't even specific to the computer science and the core as the code that, yes, they did work on. However, also the fact that they were the leader on the project and maintained other developers as well. So they showed leadership on top of their actual coding skills as well. And so that was another project that really stood out to me too. So don't just think that you have to show a project and show the code base behind it. Sometimes it's what you did to actually get the project to succeed that also goes a long way in any type of interview too.
I'm dropping in the chat that I know a student who created an app as part of the Maine App Challenge with Tyler Technologies, was in the top 3 finalists, and then was able to talk about that. Like, this is the project that I did that submitted and got me scholarship money and got
Yeah.
me recognized in the state of Maine for, developing an app, as a high school student. So
Yep.
Yep.
that was even before they went to college. There's
Exactly. No, I love the Maine Up Challenge. Typically, I'm a panelist whenever I can sneak my way back up to Maine.
nice.
Yeah, I think you want to see a project that scratches a particular itch the person has. It's very obvious when someone does a passion project, but it's really for your benefit. I don't need to see another React to do app. Like I don't need another one of those in my life. So and usually it's pretty esoteric. And I think the ones I remember a lot, they were video games. Someone just really want to make a video game. And
Yeah.
to me, it's not always so much what the subject matter is, even though I don't want it to be something generic because I know you're doing it for me. Because I wanted to open up that project with you and talk about it. I'm going to find out who you are by all these decisions you made in this. We're going to look at those and you're going to tell me why you went left when I thought you would have went right, or vice versa. But it's got to be something you're into. I got to feel that. I can't just be like, well, our professor made us write a to-do list, so this was my project. It's a to-do list. Like I can tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Show me you care.
There's so many more coming. There's one more in the QA that says, my cybersecurity degree was fairly broad, but now I'm trying to figure out how to maybe like specialize into something. What's the best way for an early grad to identify and build towards a specific path, like an SOC analyst or pen tester, especially when they might not have a lot of specific experience with that?
That's a good question.
Well, I mean, you can you can make your own experience. Honestly, you can in what we do. You can go out and decide I want to be a pen tester and go learn how to be a pen tester. Like go get a book on pen testing and learn how it's done, and then start doing it. you know, Go up to a place that has servers you're allowed to just pen test and go pen test some of them and prove you can do it. You don't have to be gatekept in our business right now yet. 50 years from now, there may be a lot of gatekeeping, but right now, you're your primary gatekeeper. Like push through those things, just go do it and then show people you can do it. And then you can do it. And then that's enough. People need to know to hire you.
Somebody had said, what are these GitHub projects someone can do, especially beginners? If you haven't heard of the GitHub Student Developer Pack, like get into that. That's a real world sort of application, right? It's sometimes tools can be cost prohibitive, but for developing those hands-on experience and like creating this student developer pack is specifically so that you can work on some of those things. And there's um, under that, when you click on that, there's a bunch of different things you can do. So I would say, look into that GitHub Foundation cert or the intro to open source or some of those other things. And then just do another thing on your own that's like, again, something that you care about or that's interesting or that solves a problem for your community or your school. Which is what Tom literally just said. Find something you're into, and then look for good first issues. There's a question that says, what kind of projects should someone who is looking for an internship have caused to a good impression to the company? Have to cause a good impression. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, arguably something aligned with what the company does, right? So if you're going into like Defendify and you're going to do it, and I just said, don't do things that you're doing just for me. Like I'm aware you're doing that, but again, like if you write something like, I built a vuln scanner because I'm kind of interested in vuln scanning and I want to see what it looked like. Like that's going to be really interesting to me. And say, oh, we're going to talk about this for a while. So I mean that would be, but also like I wouldn't spend 50 hours working on a specific project to try to get in the door at a company unless you really want to work there. Yeah, it should be something you're
And
into. That'd be better than anything.
and understand what that company is responsible for to their clients. For us, we don't we do some programming on an individual basis, but we're not writing software. We're not creating new programs. We're using command lines and PowerShell and Power Apps, and we're making those things that cause a function to happen for us, but we're not doing that as our job. What we're doing is providing support to IT professionals or to businesses that don't have IT professionals either way. Um, what I care about is, can you solve a problem? Can you show me the steps that you took to troubleshoot this thing, whatever it is? And that is always helpful if you have something that you were interested in, and you solved the problem because you cared about solving the problem, because you wanted to solve this problem, because it spoke to you. You saw something and you said, I got to fix that because it's broken and I don't like that it's broken. Um, Tell me how you did it. I don't need you to do it here, but I need to know that you know how to solve problems. And that one way to showcase that is to solve a problem in those kinds of projects.
Mhm. We have a question about what should I do? Should I switch my major? So somebody's like, not sure if I should continue as a cybersecurity major or switch to IT and with a concentration in something that I'll find interested in. So what do you give for that advice?
Do you like what you're doing? If you don't, stop doing it and find what you do like.
Would you do it if you weren't paid to do it?
Right.
And then maybe each one of you from your company's perspectives talk about a specific tool, service line, something that you're doing and a real application. So like, maybe Tyler said something about the municipalities they're working for and then, give an actual example because people are asking about like what are the sort of technologies your team is using or how are you supporting the client?
That's
Like,
that's a question I'll leave to the other three because we don't really have anything in particular that we use that would be applicable here.
Yeah.
That's a super wide topic. I'm just trying to think, like, what did I do today? Right? Like, what am I doing right now? Let's see. So here's a normal task that happens all the time here. Uh, I have data over here. I need to change it, reformat it, extract, transform, and load it over here. So many of the things we do have high level ideas behind them, and at the bottom of them, that's what we're doing. Taking data here, munging it, doing something to it, sending it out in this direction. Um, but I mean, there's so many things. It's hard to tell. I mean, I would say at this point, more than half our time is not spent, even maybe more than that now, not writing code, but writing stuff around the code. Um, what's the spec of this going to look like? How do I write a good spec? How do I write a good architectural documentation record about what we're going to do? How do I collect all these things that I have to do and turn them into tasks that I have to do? And where I am, how do I turn these into tasks I can distribute to like three other people to do them in parallel? So there's a lot of that happening. But as far as like the actual day-to-day tasks, boy, do I think a lot of it's just put data in this thing, transform it in some shape, get it out on the other side later. And that may be 90% of what all of us do when it's all said and done.
from a Tyler perspective, we work with things as municipality software, but kind of trying to narrow that down in an example. Let's say we want to offer a town an ability to actually see. So let's just say a town in Maine goes out with electricity. Now your town needs to identify, okay, what pole went out? And now we want to not only identify the pole, now we want to build our software to be able to identify the pole that's out, but also the entire networking spider web consistencies that that particular electrical pole is actually connected to. And so now we want to actually develop something or a screen to showcase a map spatial capability to show the spiderweb effect of this electricity pole going out. And so that's the type of software that we work with towns. It can go anywhere from like I said, the maintenance of a town to school to lunches to budget and planning. We scope anything and everything that a town would need in order to survive is a software that we develop and touch. And we are continuously growing and continuously expanding the different software that we offer. Not as just one example of something that we built this past year.
I would say become very familiar with the inner workings of popular enterprise operating softwares. Um, know what is happening in a computer. If I go into my email and I click on a thing and I send an email and that doesn't work, that's broken, I need you to be able to know why that's broken and be able to find how that broke and how to then explain it to me that you're going to fix it, how you're going to fix it. Um, a lot of the times in IT, when I'm talking to my engineering teams and I'm working with I'm talking to our help desk folks, it feels like a lot of computer is built on a piece of code from the 60s that lives in Ohio somewhere, and we don't really know how it works. We're not really sure about how it works. But if that breaks, the whole thing's cooked. What I need you to know is the next level up. When that thing breaks, how do we fix it? What are we building on top of it? Because it's all kind of fundamentally similar. It's all but these languages, these operating systems, these code bases. They are all based on very similar technology that are all birthed from the same wellhead. So if you know how to fix these things, if you know how to address these challenges, that takes you really far into one, being able to help people with it, which is everything that we do here at Systems is helping people with the thing that is broken, but also helps you build your knowledge base, helps you continue to grow your skills, helps you continue to learn because you have that strong foundation of development.
The question from Greg is, what are some red flags you've seen in job applicants? Maybe the what not to do or bring up in an interview.
One of the bigger things for a lot of our clients is when they see a lot of short stint job hopping, that tends to raise a flag with a potential employer. Sometimes there's good reason for it. Sometimes it's, hey, this was a project. This was a short-term project. It was only 2 or 3 months. That's fine. You just have to have the ability to explain that. Other times, if there's just a litany of random jobs and bouncing around, that will definitely raise a flag for an employer for sure.
I think of interviews that have gone wrong. Uh, Attitude makes a big difference. I have people come in just thinking they are absolutely amazing, and they may have been, but I don't want to work with them. So they wind up not going very well. But I would echo what Todd said. That is a big indicator. Like, if you've had 3 jobs in the last year, you've had 6 in the last 3. I don't think you're going to stay with me, and I want to put the time in on you.
Yeah, another key thing too that I know I look for it, and I know other managers do too, is how people explain the genesis of their career. When they moved on from one employer to another one, if someone starts bad mouthing, one of their experiences, that can be a big turnoff. I know it is for me, and I've seen that with other employers as well. So I would just say during an interview, definitely be fully armed, be prepared to articulate, like I said, the genesis of your career, how you got to where you're at, what your interests are, and where you'd like to go, and how you see yourself fitting in with the organization. Um, Keep it as positive as you can be so you can make a lasting impression on that person. And at the end of the day, when it's time to make a decision, it's you, you know?
I would also recommend know as much as you can about who you're talking to. If you're interviewing with a company, if a company has reached out to you and scheduled this interview time with you to learn more about you and your background, your skills, and your experience, it benefits you very highly to know what that company does. What does the role you applied for do? Um, I think really the only time I've ever had interviews that went really, really sideways was with candidates who didn't know who I was, didn't know where I was calling from, didn't know what we were talking about, didn't really have an understanding of the role that they had applied for,
Look,
or thought the
look,
role wasn't the one thing and wasn't, and it
look at
wasn't.
the webpage, at least.
Right. We're out there. Their
Yeah.
information is available. It benefits you to know a little bit about the company you're applying for.
Yeah,
You don't have to be an expert, but you should know.
do your research. Well,
Do
thank
your
you
research.
all. Thank you all panelists from all of our amazing companies and partners here in Maine. And thank you students for attending the webinar today. It's been great.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye.